The vote was unanimous. Seated in concentric circles of floating crystalline pods, the High Galactic Assembly, 67 sentient species spanning 5 spiral arms, declared Earth officially Strategic Asset 0449A. The motion passed without debate. Humans would be subdued, their world absorbed, their cultures archived as curiosities for future study. The Bothal, a hive-minded race of economists, tallied projections. Profits would double within a cycle. The Elvari, neural empaths bred for diplomacy, found no significant emotional resistance in intercepted transmissions. Even the warlike threats deemed Earth militarily negligible. None had ever encountered resistance that came in the form of slapdash memes, improvised explosives, or sarcasm. And so began the harvesting. Nia Tran watched the skies burn from what used to be the 38th floor of the United Nations Secretariat building. Manhattan was gone. What was left of it? A tangle of broken towers and fusion slag concrete, gleamed red under the alien dusk. She hadn't spoken in hours. She didn't need to. The others worked in silence, each driven by exhaustion, fury, or, most dangerously, hope. Dr. Rajiv Banerjee crouched beside a downed relay drone. He held a rusted coil in one hand and a thermos of instant coffee in the other. "This thing runs on something suspiciously close to quantum entanglement and Plato," he muttered. "You said that already," Nia replied without looking. "I wasn't joking the first time." On the far wall, Zoe Morales painted a third eye on the forehead of a collapsed Elvari patrol unit. She hummed as her brush moved, trailing iridescent ink over alien skin. "They always look so calm when they die," she said softly, "like they're disappointed in us." "They thought we were harmless," Dmitri grunted. He was sawing the legs off another patrol unit to make furniture. "Joke's on them. We're just inefficient." The team had come together by accident, which, ironically, was the only thing that made sense anymore. Nia had been a peacekeeper in Mali before the skies opened. She knew how to build alliances from ruin. Rajiv had lost tenure at Caltech for refusing to weaponize his neural net designs. Now he hacked alien hardware, using discarded game controllers. Zoe had survived the initial assaults by living underground, leaving cryptic messages in neon paint, maps disguised as murals. And Dmitri claimed to have fought a Threx brute in hand-to-hand combat and won. No one asked for proof. They were what was left. Not soldiers, not politicians, just people too stubborn to die and too strange to break. "Signal sweep complete," Rajiv announced. "They're routing command pulses through a low-orbit relay every 19 minutes. We jam it. We blind half the grid in the Atlantic corridor." Nia nodded. "You sure you can do it?" "With a microwave, a transistor radio, and divine luck?" "No, but I'm going to anyway." She allowed herself the faintest smile. "Good. Dmitri, you're with him." "Of course." Dmitri cracked his knuckles. "Do I get to name the jammer?" "No. Too late. It's the wrath of Mom." Zoe set her brush down and tilted her head. "They're watching," she said. Everyone froze. "Where?" Zoe pointed to a shard of glass angled just right against the far wall, reflected in it. A glimmer, just one, hovering at the edge of visibility. A scout. Nia moved first. She grabbed the alien rifle, jury-rigged to human scale, and fired without hesitation. A crack of pale blue energy tore across the ruin, shattering stone and silence. The scout disintegrated with a scream that echoed through 3 dimensions. Rajiv winced. "Subtle. They already know where we are," Nia said. "Now they know we're awake." The assault came 10 minutes later. The air shimmered as dropcraft pierced the clouds. 6 of them. Too many. Nia cursed. The team scattered. Zoe through a maintenance shaft, Rajiv and Dmitri into the stairwell. Nia stayed behind. She didn't expect to win. That wasn't the point. She wanted them to see her. One human. Standing. As the first wave descended, she activated the dead man transmitter hidden in her vest. The jamming pulse launched. Rajiv's signal screamed into orbit, frying the alien relay with a feedback loop. Across the Atlantic corridor, lights dimmed. Drones dropped mid-flight. Alien units blinked in confusion. Their grid stuttered. But Nia didn't see it. She only saw the soldiers surrounding her. They leveled their weapons, cold, perfect, unblinking. A second before they fired, a roar exploded behind them. Concrete shattered as Dmitri rammed a commandeered loader into their flank. Screaming an ancient Russian lullaby, Rajiv appeared in the chaos, grabbing Nia by the arm. "Jammer worked," he gasped. "Your call sign is trending among the Elvari as a symbol of unexpected threat level. Congratulations." They fled into the Undercity, Zoe waiting with a smile and a pre-painted exit sign. That night, beneath the ruins, they shared silence and heat from a scavenged fusion coil. "Why do you think they hate us so much?" Zoe asked. "They don't hate us," Nia said. "They never thought about us at all. We were an afterthought." Dmitri raised a cracked canteen. "Here's to being the worst afterthought in galactic history." They clinked mismatched cups. Above them, the stars shifted. The first cracks in the great machine had appeared, and humanity, chaotic and cornered, was learning how to wedge itself into every one. 3 days after the jammer pulse knocked out the Atlantic corridor, retaliation came in waves. Not military strikes, those had already failed in pockets worldwide, but algorithmic pressure, temperature spikes, induced storms, targeted famine vectors. The Assembly didn't just want Earth's submission. They wanted to erase humanity's will to fight. They hadn't accounted for how stubborn Earth could be when properly offended. "We have 12 minutes before the storm wall hits," Nia said, studying a cracked tablet that flickered between climate projections and troop movement reports. "We should leave now," Rajiv muttered, peering over the shoulder of a deactivated alien mech. "Or stay here forever. Both are statistically equal in terms of survival." They were camped beneath the remnants of the old Geneva Particle Collider, now a hybrid-resistance bunker and makeshift research lab. The Swiss underground offered power, shelter, and most importantly, relics of pre-invasion tech the aliens hadn't yet classified as a threat. Zoe painted a glowing fox along the curved wall, its tail looping into an arrow that pointed toward an escape tunnel. "I dreamed of this place before we got here," she said. "In the dream, it was louder. It will be," Dmitri said, tightening the bolt on a gutted plasma turret. "Once I'm done with this beauty," she'll sing. "You're making a speaker?" "I'm making a statement. The aliens have begun adapting. Slowly. Patrols shifted formations, comms channel cycle frequencies, and orbital sweeps now burned entire square kilometers if they detected human thermal patterns. Still, Earth had one advantage: improvisation. The Galactic Assembly enforced uniformity across its member species. One protocol, one hierarchy, one design philosophy. It made them efficient, predictable, vulnerable. Rajiv hunched over a table scattered with broken alien devices and children's toys. "They use synthetic neural lattices in their scout drones," he said. "Unsecured ones. Sloppy." Nia glanced over. "You can hijack them?" "Better. I can give them an existential crisis." He inserted a rewired human language chip, originally part of a singing birthday card, into the drone's neural port. The machine blinked awake, emitted a confused jingle, then began reciting Shakespeare in binary. "Why Shakespeare?" Nia asked. "Because he makes everyone uncomfortable." 2 floors up, Zoe had found something stranger, a wall-length mural deep underground, predating the invasion, etched in carbon-scored paint. It looked eerily like Earth cities, except overlaid with alien constellations and symbols she recognized from captured Threx command maps. "I think someone knew they were coming," she said to no one. Dmitri joined her, arms crossed. "Or maybe the universe loops. History repeats. Dreams echo. You sound like her now." "Good. She's usually right." Zoe frowned. "You think they're afraid?" "Of us." Dmitri laughed. "No, not yet. That night the storm hit. Thunder rolled like artillery across the Alps. The wind howled through ventilation shafts. Somewhere distant, a captured drone began reciting Macbeth in a monotone wail. They used the noise as cover. The objective was simple: breach an alien logistics hub on the outskirts of Bern. Disable its thermal beacon to allow refugee convoys to move unnoticed through the mountain corridors. They moved in teams of 2. Nia and Rajiv advanced through the tree line, his pulse gun humming, her boots silent in the mud. Zoe and Dmitri took the high ridge, carrying charges made from repurposed mining explosives and compact fusion coils. Halfway there, Rajiv stopped. "Movement," he whispered. "For centuries. Threx." Nia nodded. "Zoe lights." A moment later, the forest lit up, not with flashbangs, but with swirling ultraviolet glyphs cast by Zoe's projector drones. The symbols spun and shimmered, disrupting the Threx's pheromone-based targeting system. Disoriented, they stumbled. Dmitri struck first, dropping into their ranks like a meteor. In 90 seconds, it was over. "You all right?" Nia called. Dmitri stood over the largest Threx, panting. "He bit me. I bit back. We're even." They reached the logistics hub just before sunrise. Alien tech formed sharp, brutal angles. Floating pylons, armored conduits pulsing with bioelectric charge. Raji pulled a coil from his backpack and set to work on the beacon's core. "This will blind them across 100 kilometers," he said. "But they'll notice. Fast." Nia nodded. "We hold until evac clears the pass." Dmitri placed charges along the perimeter. "You ever get tired of being heroic?" "Yes," Nia said. "Often." Then the alarm sounded. Too fast. A patrol wasn't supposed to pass through for another 6 hours. Something had changed. "They're adapting," Zoe whispered. "They're scared. They're learning." The squad dug in. For the first time, the aliens came prepared. Shielded units, flanking maneuvers, signal scramblers. But the resistance didn't retreat. Rajiv's beacon pulsed launch moments before the first shot landed. The thermal beacon burst in a silent blue bloom. Across the mountains, 15 hidden human transports vanished from orbital view. The price was steep. Dmitri took a pulse blast to the shoulder, roaring through the pain as he dragged Raji back behind a fallen pylon. Nia fired until her rifle overheated. Zoe knelt beside her mural, fingers splayed in the mud, eyes closed. And then the sky answered. A ripple tore through the clouds, an electromagnetic echo from a jamming satellite long thought destroyed. Someone had reactivated it, whether human or alien defector. They didn't know, but it gave them a window. Within minutes, the enemy's targeting systems collapsed into static. Their formations faltered. Nia led the charge, one last desperate push, and when the dust settled, the hub was theirs. Bruised, battered, alive. Later, huddled in a cave lit by flickering blueprints and warming coils, the team nursed their wounds. "We're no longer unpredictable," Nia said quietly. "They've started treating us like equals." "That's bad," Rajiv asked, arm in a sling. "It means they'll stop underestimating us." Dmitri smiled despite the blood. "Let them bring their best. We're just getting started." Zoe traced a symbol in the ash near the fire, something between a fox and a star. "They came here thinking we were broken," she said, "but we're just unfinished." The jungle was swallowing the mothership. Vines crept across hull plates like slow, green fire. Trees rooted in shattered bulkheads. Fluorescent insects flitted in and out of alien wounds, undeterred by technology meant to survive vacuum and radiation. Nia Tran stood on a ridge overlooking the wreckage, her rifle slung loose across her shoulder, her jaw set. "It fell 2 weeks ago," Raji said behind her. "Or it was pulled." He knelt, brushing aside leaves to reveal a blackened scar of impact. No crater, no debris field. Just a controlled descent that ended in silence. Zoe crouched beside him, running her hand along an exposed conduit pulsing faintly with alien light. "I dreamed of this," she murmured. But in the dream, it was breathing. "You okay?" Dmitri asked, checking the perimeter. He had one arm in a sling from the burn raid, and carried a plasma axe he refused to explain. "No," Zoe said, "but it's beautiful." The crash site lay deep in the Amazon, a no-go zone for both alien forces and human survivors. The area had become wild in the wake of the invasion. Too hot, too volatile, too strange. But that was exactly why they'd come. Inside the wreck, there were answers and weapons. The ship's entryway yawned like the throat of a beast, jagged, dark, humming with residual energy. Inside, alien design met Earth's chaos. Foliage sprouted from shattered walkways. Pools of bioluminescent fluid glowed where fuel had seeped into groundwater. They moved carefully. Rajiv carried a modified scanner. A child's toy merged with an Elvari telemetry chip. It beeped with increasing urgency as they reached the central chamber. "It's intact," he whispered. "The gravitic core. Still hot." The chamber was a cathedral. Towering conduits arced upward like ribs. In the center, a sphere floated, oscillating in time with an inaudible rhythm. Nia approached it, slow and reverent. "This is how they fold space," Rajiv said, eyes wide. "How they crush mass, bend distance. This thing powers cities, ships, possibly entire planets. Can we use it?" Nia asked. Rajiv hesitated. "Maybe, if I had a year, a full lab, and a team of psychotic theoretical physicists." Dmitri stepped forward. "You have me? That's not comforting." Zoe wandered to the chamber's edge, where strange glyphs pulsed along the walls. She placed her hand against one and closed her eyes. "They didn't crash," she said. "What?" Nia turned. "They abandoned it." The silence that followed was loud. That night, they camped near the wreck, surrounded by trees older than civilization. A fire crackled between them, smoke curling into a starless sky. "They're scared," Zoe said, gazing into flames. "This ship wasn't downed in battle. It was left behind, on purpose." "Why?" Nia asked. "Because whatever's coming next, they didn't want to fall into our hands." Rajiv rubbed his temples. "You're suggesting we're more dangerous with their own tools than without." "We always were," Nia said quietly. "They just didn't see it." Dmitri grinned. "And now they do." By morning, Rajiv had a plan. It was, by his own admission, deranged but plausible. The gravitic core, if linked with Earth's geomagnetic nodes, could project a field inversion, effectively scrambling alien sensor grids across an entire hemisphere. "But we need to broadcast from a high point," he added, "and control the modulation manually. One misstep, and we destabilize local gravity." "Meaning?" Dmitri asked. "Mountains collapse. Rivers fly. People pop." Nia stared at the jungle canopy. "Where's the nearest peak?" 3 days later, they stood atop Mount Roraima. Wind lashed their coats. Clouds rolled below them in silent fury. The sky was filled with stars, some real, some artificial. The transmitter was cobbled together from the core stabilizer ring, a solar array from a downed Elvari scout pod, and a 1987 ham radio antenna. Zoe had painted symbols along its frame, careful strokes of copper and neon. "They're not just frequencies," she said. "They're patterns, stories. It matters how we say it." As Rajiv calibrated the field, Dmitri watched the horizon through a stolen visor. "5 cruisers incoming," he said. "Low orbit. They're coming to stop this." Nia loaded the rifle slung across her back. "Let them try." The sky ignited. Alien dropcraft rained down like spears of fire, their descent buffered by shimmer fields. The team held fast. Rajiv working furiously, Zoe feeding adjustments into signal rhythm, Dmitri guarding the ridge with raw defiance. Nia stood tall. "They thought we'd die in the dirt," she said. "Let's show them how loud dirt can scream." The first wave struck. Soldiers with plasma blades, hover rigs, expressionless masks. Dmitri met them head-on. Zoe's patterns triggered a sonic pulse from the transmitter, disrupting their cohesion. They faltered. Rajiv flipped the final switch. The mountain pulsed. For one breathless moment, gravity forgot its purpose. The air shimmered. The clouds reversed. Across the planet, alien infrastructure spasmed. Ships lost altitude. Drones froze mid-flight. In the skies over 3 continents, human resistance surged forward. It was working. Until it wasn't. A direct hit tore through the transmitter's left flank, sending sparks and fire across the ridge. Raji was thrown back, groaning. Dmitri leapt to shield him. Zoe screamed as a cruiser descended overhead, blotting out the stars, preparing to finish the job. And then it stopped, frozen in place. Hovering, a voice, alien warped, echoed from its hull. "We surrender." Don't touch the core. They watched as the remaining ships pulled back, retreating in disarray. Rajiv sat up, bruised but breathing. They're scared of something. Not us. They are now, Nia said. Dmitri looked at the damaged core, still glowing faintly beside them. We just rewrote the rules. They were invited. Not summoned, not captured. Invited. The message arrived encoded in Elvari fractals, broadcast through the same gravitic pathways they'd hijacked 2 weeks prior atop Mount Roraima. Nia stared at the transmission in silence. Repeat that, Dmitri said, setting down his repair plasma axe with theatrical care. Rajiv adjusted his glasses, blinking at the decoded output. The assembly wants to negotiate. With us. Face to face. On neutral ground. Zoe tilted her head. They're afraid. Afraid we'll weaponize the core? Nia asked. Zoe shook her head. Afraid we already have. The designated meeting site was in orbit, an ancient diplomatic station, once used for trade disputes between assembly species. It had long since fallen into ceremonial disuse, until now. They arrived in a patched-together human shuttle, its engine a Frankenstein blend of alien sublight drives and Earth-made combustion overrides. As they docked, the station's vast docking ring opened like the petals of a dead flower. Nia stepped out first. Flanking her were Dmitri, armed and resolute, and Rajiv, scanning the walls for traps. Zoe walked beside them, her gaze fixed not on the architecture, but the unseen threads that hung beneath it. Inside, the air was heavy with translation overlays. Sounds twisted mid-echo. Voices didn't quite match the mouths that formed them. A Threx representative, 8 feet tall, for iridescent with tension, greeted them with a low, formal bow. Earth, it said, you are now acknowledged. The assembly hall was massive, lined with diplomats and envoys from over 60 species. Most watched with a nervous curiosity reserved for wild predators kept barely chained. A pale Elvari floated toward them, its body barely corporeal, face a shifting mass of mathematical symmetry. You have destabilized 3 quadrants of order, it said to Nia. Human unpredictability poses a threat to galactic equilibrium. You enslaved our planet, she replied. That decision was democratic, the Elvari said. Rajiv scoffed. You mean 63 species voted to chain us because we made you nervous with how fast we learned to punch back? The chamber rippled with subtle discomfort. Even now, they couldn't understand how Earth had adapted so quickly. Turned scrap into weapons, fear into coordination, loss into leverage. Zoe stepped forward. You don't fear our tech. You fear our dreams, our capacity to see beyond the edge and want more. Desire unchecked becomes contagion. The Threx said coldly. That's what freedom is, Zoe answered. A beautiful, dangerous virus. They were offered terms. Amnesty, limited sovereignty, trade inclusion, even a voice in the assembly, conditional on immediate dismantlement of all human-modified alien technology, especially the gravitic core. Nia stared at the offer, then at her team. Zoe, they want us leashed, not heard. Rajiv, we can fake compliance. Delay the deactivation. Stall while we... No, Nia said, we're not lying. We're deciding. Dmitri cracked his knuckles. So what's it going to be? In the silence that followed, Nia stepped forward. We refuse, she said clearly. Not out of spite, not for vengeance, but because you taught us what you fear most. Independence. Gasps. Murmurs. A few species turn away, unwilling to witness what they thought would come next. Nia continued. You've ruled this galaxy by making every voice sound the same. Earth is a scream, a question, and now you've heard it. She stepped back. The delegation turned and walked away. No guards followed, no weapons fired, because in that moment, every species present realized something they could not unlearn. Earth didn't want to conquer. Earth wanted to compete, and it was already winning. Back aboard their ship, the silence was different. It wasn't caution, it was clarity. What now? Dmitri asked. We build, Nia said. Not for war. For presence. Rajiv nodded. They'll try to undermine us politically, isolate us, block trade. Zoe smiled faintly. Let them. We've been alone before. It made us resourceful. Nia activated the NAV interface. Start with Mars. Then Europa. Then out. No more ceilings. Behind them, Earth spun quietly in the dark, scarred, proud, and louder than ever.